All right, I think I'm here, and let's get started, shall we? All right. So I did a little thing about pear shapes once upon a time. All the things that you can start with a simple pear shape, including a portrait of myself, could be started that way. You're most of the way there. So yeah, we're going to start with a little pear shape thing. Something I've been sharing to some other groups of late. Um, it's nothing the rest of you have not already seen. All they get is repeats. They don't get fresh new stuff that you haven't seen. But Sissy's here, it's Stellar's here. Sissy says, yeah, I made the first comment. Yes, yes, and you get a prize for that. You get to have made the first comment. I'm glad you're here. I was saying something. Oh, yeah, when I talk about sharing stuff to other groups, you know, it's not some exclusive other group content. It's old used stuff that I've showed here a long time ago, and it was just sitting in a folder, not doing anybody any good. And then I found all these new groups, and so they're getting all my stale leftovers that you've already seen. So, and then sometimes they get these, the end result of these videos or something. And sometimes I'll say, I did this on live video on my main page. And then I get thrown out of the group for advertising. And I say, whatever. So anyhow, what was I saying? I was saying something. I've been posting some of the monsters that I've done in the past, and the apes that I've done, and things like that. And I've posted here, and so I was just doing sort of this series of posts that I'm calling the bad guys, and posting that. So that's what's on my mind. I'm thinking about the bad guys and the monsters. Sometimes I don't like my design, it's like, I don't know, could have done that better. So I'm going to crack it out and do some new trolls, or I don't know. When I think the word goblin, I don't necessarily think the way D&D thinks it, or Tolkien thought it, but I think my goblins are a little cuter than most. But a troll something else. So if I'm creating a new world, a new story setting and all that kind of thing, I want it to be different. And I've talked about that with people at conventions and stuff like that. And as soon as I start talking, they're like, no. Dragons breathe fire, or something like that, or you can't have, you couldn't have goblins living in a city where people live, because they eat people, or or no, magic doesn't work that way. And and I start thinking, I'm not sure you're understanding that we're talking about fantasy here, not reality. maybe I know that in some cases it turns out this guy has got some religious belief that he thinks, he uses magic, and so if I'm going to say the word magic, I have to use the word the way that he uses the word magic, and uh, or if I mention a dragon and he's into D&D, well, he's, the dragon's got to obey D&D rules. Or if I say goblin, it's got to obey the Tolkien model of what a goblin is. And I don't believe any of that crap, It's just like these are words that have been in our languages for millennia, and in historical circumstances that things like elf, goblin, troll frequently meant the same thing. Um, and they may have been, all three of those words might have been used to describe what you would think of as a fairy or a leprechaun or something like that. And so some people just have to complain. That is true. um, but yeah, people fight me. I actually had a guy, the guy wanted to write stories in this world that I was developing. It's just like, you're always drawing these things. I want to write some stories in that. And so we came over and we talked, and I basically had to say, no, I'm not interested, because he wouldn't let go of his own preconceptions. It was like, there's nothing stopping you. So you've already got this world built in your head. There's nothing stopping you from going out and writing those stories. It's like, you don't need to associate your stories with my drawings, in order to go ahead and write them. Just go write them. Leave my name off. But I don't know. It seemed very intent that I was doing it wrong. I don't know if trolls always have to have a weight problem, but it does seem like that's helpful. And apparently it makes them cranky. And I know what they mean. Speaking of being here, I need to come by and grab that troll with the butterfly. Yes, yeah, come get him. Come get him. He's right there. So, oh crap! I just moved my mouse, and now everything's screwed up. Hang on a second. I've got a model here on my computer. Believe it or don't. And now the computer wants to do a self-diagnostic. I don't want the computer to do a self-diagnostic. No, 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 I do not. Okay, so which one of these pictures is the thing? Sorry, I've got to learn not to touch that. Stupid mouse. Stupid. Stupid. Wow, I didn't think it was this far down. Damn it. Where is it? So that is just good and freaking lost. That's crazy. Crazy, I tell you. It was right there. It's lost. That's it. Okay. All right. Don't touch my mouse. Damn it. All right. Problem is, I'm sitting here with two computers and two mouses, and I reach for the wrong mouse. All right. Was I saying something? It seemed like I was saying something. Monsters and world building. World building isn't really what I'm on about very much. It just kind of happens on its own. It's by accident. I didn't need to do it. It just happens. Give this guy some knobby club or something. Um, yeah, monster's got a weight problem. I can sympathize. Somebody, maybe it was Sissy, I'm not sure. Somebody shared something about thyroid issues. Yeah, I've got that. I got hypothyroid. I was diagnosed 10-ish years ago. I'm not sure. Um, I got to tell you, when the doctor, we had our regular, checkup. They looked under the hood and changed the oil and hooked us up to one of those diagnostic machines and ran the motor for a while to see what all's wrong with us and that all included blood work, and I got my blood work back and she said you've got hypothyroid, and I was like, okay, what's that mean? And she started asking me all these things like are you tired all the time, you have low energy, you have trouble losing weight, you have. And I was thinking, awesome, oh, cool, like, this is so great because I've got a condition, and she's going to give me a pill, and then I'm going to lose weight, and I'm going to have energy, and I'm going to be an 18-year-old again. I couldn't have been happier. Um, and none of that happened. None of that. Actually, she asked me if I was experiencing, any of those issues, and honestly, I wasn't. Not that I could tell. I mean, if if I had, it had come on so gradually that I wasn't aware that it was something strange. I wasn't worried about it, and so they put me on. I'd already had a blood test, and that's like my least favorite thing on earth. You know, I mean, honestly, if you gave me a choice, like I'm gonna hit you in the head with this hammer, or I'm gonna give you a blood test, I'd have to think about it. So it is my least favorite thing. And so I had this blood test, and then they said you got hypothyroid. You're gonna get a whole bunch more blood tests, and I was like, oh crap, Yeah, Cece says, oh, that was me. I shared the thing about thyroid because I have hypothyroidism. I'm sorry. Yeah, I have that. I have that, and if it affects me, I just don't know because they what they do, they put me on 25 micrograms, which is really low. And then they said, we're going to give you a blood test and see how that affected you. Well, no change whatsoever. There's some numbers they're looking for, whatever that means. And absolutely no change whatsoever. They asked me how I feel. I said I feel the same. Um, so they put me on 50. How do you feel? I feel the same. My numbers were the same. Um, so 75, and then they got me on 100, and they said, "Oh, the magic trick! It's perfect. How do you feel?" Clearly expecting me to say something other than the same. I don't notice anything. I don't know if. Uh, I mean, certainly, I have less energy than I had when I was a teenager. I have less. I have a lot of trouble losing weight, which I never thought was going to be an issue when I was younger because I could eat anything and never gain weight. And now I can think about eating something and gain weight. Uh, so yeah, I thought, but I just thought that's me getting older, and as near as I can tell, it is just me getting older. So anyway, they were like, "Well, that's weird, but 100's your number, so there you are." So there I are. I take 100 micrograms, have ever since then. And on the days that I forget, boy, let me tell you, I experience nothing at all. And I've got a friend who is also on 100 micrograms, and if she forgets, she's just like, dead on her feet and brain fog and I don't know, moody, and you get your article listed a bunch of possible things, and she has all those problems, and my mom did too. She 100 micrograms, and if she didn't take it, man, she just was out of commission, you know, or would just realize, oh, I know what's wrong with me. I didn't take my pill, and so she'd take her pill and then feel better, and yeah, I got nothing. I'm sure it's doing something. I almost touched my mouse again. I'm sure it's doing something, but and there's lots of internal things like the health of your liver and your kidneys and your heart and stuff like that. Uh, to You're an 88. That's a very specific number. Mine went up, 25, 50, 75, 100. 88s. I didn't know they did 88s. It hasn't helped the general feeling of fatigue, but my brain is less itchy. Is that a thing? Good. And I have fewer troubles with anxiety. I ran out a couple of years ago and decided to be lazy about getting back on and on the stake. My brain got frizzy and I was nervous and anxious all the time. Yeah, Stellar says it brought my numbers back in line, and that's the important part. I guess that is important. Well, all I'm trying to describe is that I have no external sign that, I would never have gone to the doctor and said, "Oh, there's something wrong with me," and then gotten a test and have them say, "Oh, you've got hypothyroid." That never would have been a thing. Um, so yeah, I guess they can in fact present in many, many different ways, and that's interesting. Um, I do have the occasional anxiety, but I've always attributed that to horrible things going on in the world, or or something. So maybe I've got more more overt symptoms than I realize, and I just don't ascribe it to that. Anyhow, I'm with you. I got that thing. I got that thing. So often when I draw pictures of Ned the Barbarian, people will say, "Admit it, Gil, that's you. You're drawing yourself." And I sure do appreciate that. I will confess, well, I have said before that sometimes, the hand holding the sword is me, but the model was a guy from Life Drawing class. Uh, and sometimes it's something I just found online, like a tennis player or something, and the particular pose that he was in, pretty close uh, to a sword fighter dude. And so I just went with that. I did, in fact, set up my camera on my tripod, and I've got a little clicker so you can do things remote and go out in the backyard buck naked and take a bunch of pictures of myself doing heroic fighting stances and action, deep lunges and this and that, that I could use for my Ned the Barbarian or other pictures. And then I came in and I looked at them on the computer, and it was so depressing. Um, it's just one of those things that you can be in denial and say, well, yeah, I know I'm a little chubby. You know, Probably will have to shave a little body fat around the middle and maybe bump up some musculature a little bit and stuff like that. And yeah, no, it's not like that. It's really not like that at all. Um, I didn't look even slightly Nedly in those pictures. In fact, I started thinking those pictures look more like all the trolls that Ned is likely to be fighting with than like Ned himself. As I got ready to delete the entire mass, and then I thought, hey, those pictures look like all the trolls that Ned might be fighting with. I could use those pictures, and I'm using one of those pictures right now, and I'm exaggerating almost nothing at all. This is pretty much uh, okay. I was holding a plastic sword instead of a big knobby club, and yeah, yeah, that's it. That's it. This is otherwise. This is me. The expression is spot on, and the body is you ever wondered what I look like naked? Wonder no more. There I am. So, yeah, denial. Denial. I was in denial. Speaking of denial, Stellar was just reading an article. Since we're having another wave of COVID, and people are winding up in the hospital in high numbers again. Um, but this time, healthcare workers are talking about the phenomenal number of people who are deathly sick, possibly literally deathly sick, and uh, and resolutely deny that COVID's a real thing as they lie there dying of it. It's a powerful muscle you can flex. Denial is. It's probably how most of us cope with life. It's probably a good thing in many ways. Just your ability to say, no, I'm not that out of shape. I'm not that old. He looks like a bad guy. I can tell you that. Uh, there's there's a trend, particularly an online trend, to demonize the idea of demonizing things. Um, well, to the point that the suggestion is all science fiction and fantasy is inherently racist in concept because there's bad guys. So the the idea that you could have an entire race of somebody who's evil, like orcs or something, to the extent that the makers of World of Warcraft actually uh, did an about face in the middle of their massive multiplayer role-playing game and actually portrayed the orcs as misunderstood, uh, racially persecuted people who were actually totally nice guys if you were willing to give them a chance. And that's interesting. I've got nothing against them doing that. It's just that you know if you're playing a game about going out and killing things, I don't want them to be cute little bunnies and puppies that I'm going out and smashing. I want them to be bad guys. If you want to say it's allegorical that we're going out and fighting the worst aspects of humanity, this guy represents, uh, what is brutal and cool in all of us, or some such notion. I'm fine with that, but people can be kind of silly. treating it like it's a real problem. Like orcs are going to get hurt. Like real life orcs are going to get hurt there because we can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality. I'm kind of amused by somebody who thinks I can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality, and therefore I might hurt an orc. Those fingers are fatter than those fingers. One of those sets of fingers is wrong. And I'm not sure I've decided yet which one. I think these are too fat. So yeah, there you go. He's a bad guy, and I don't know if he's got a thyroid problem, but he's got issues. Figure that he's got issues. And yeah, I'm gonna draw some more of these guys. I don't know if I'll draw some more on video or if that's just too much of that. But I got a couple more pictures, and I will not show them to you. Don't fear. Don't have nightmares. Um, and so it's Wednesday, and I'll be back tomorrow, I believe. Um, Stellar says she's kind of tired and doesn't doubts that we're going to the Arboretum tomorrow, but maybe the next day. Who knows? All right. I think talk to you tomorrow at 3, and uh, I mispronounced angry, misunderstood troll. Yeah. Yeah. No. Nah. I'm not going. It's just like if I'm going to write a fantasy world, it's going to be a fantasy world. With it, with it. Uh, I've talked before about somebody. It was like one guy, and then he got all of his friends to jump on with it. Um, but I was drawing, Ned fighting a gorilla or something, and he went into this whole thing about how when people present a gorilla as a an enemy, as a bad guy thing, that it's that it's a de facto black person. And so therefore I'm a racist, and it's like you got a bunch of people to agree with it, and jumped all over me on a page that mysteriously I don't post to anymore. But it's just like if I show you a picture of a gorilla and you see a black person, there's definitely a racist in this room. I'll say that much. But it ain't me. Anyhow, my fantasy art is fantasy art, and that's that. Just fantasy. I'm going to come back tomorrow unless I don't. How's that? There's a commitment. See you then.